Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages that we should be up by around this point here. If not, you can always find us in all those ways. But the social media, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We got up in all those ways in order to make it more accessible to y'all, more available, and allow you to chime in as well. That's one of the better parts of those social media pages. You can go leave your comments. They already have some people leaving those reactions. We do appreciate the likes and such. Monica Cervantes, Flaco Jimenez do appreciate it. As we get into busy weekend, is that a good way to put it? Anyway, the weekend almost always, at least as far back as I can remember anyway, doing this show anyway, makes me think that, yeah, there's probably going to be a lot to talk about Monday. So that's why we kind of leave it a little bit more open than we do other days during the week. Because, yeah, there's already a lot on the docket here right now. I was trying to do the whole, like, Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my, kind of illusion with the announcement post here today. But, well, we blew right past three major overriding topics to go into, well, a whole lot more. Taxes, inflation, supply chain issues, power supply, and a whole lot more. So, yeah, that's just ever so slightly few things going on here to be concerned about today. Yeah, taxes, inflation, energy costs, blackout shortages. Oh my, doesn't quite fit the same kind of neat cadence that you have there, but, well, they're all very real and very much happening right now, and some of them a little bit more far-fetched regional, but a lot of them hitting right here at home. If you hadn't already heard about it, we are currently, I do believe, if I'm doing my time zone math right, in that period of time that the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, better known as ERCOT to you and me, has asked for a lessening of use of energy in general throughout, well, the rest of the state of Texas. Essentially, as soon as you hit pretty much the split where the I-10 splits over into the part that heads more towards like Midland and Odessa, essentially there. That's the best point I've been able to pinpoint, is where essentially the Texas grid takes over from the western U.S. grid that El Paso is on. And yeah, ERCOT saying that, well, please keep the use low because we cannot guarantee there will not be rolling blackouts. So fun stuff, as we're not, okay, maybe I was mistaken in looking at the forecast here, but we're not one of the hottest cities in Texas right now. Like, we're warm here, and we're definitely getting warmer, but some of the other points here are hitting like 114 in other areas of the country, like Scottsdale. I mean, Arizona is Arizona, and let's be honest, there's a whole lot of reasons I don't live there, but even other parts of Texas expected to hit in the 110s today. So, yeah, and they've also still got, I mean, we've got more humidity than we're used to. I've been halfway joking that we're feeling like Houston, if only because it's been a long time since I've been to Houston. It's easy to lie to yourself like that. But imagine that kind of heat happening with actual Houston, well, humidity. Yeah, that's when I need a sound clip. I just got, I guess I have Wizard of Oz on the mind today because I'm just imagining in my head, I'm melting, going on with a lot of people out there. I mean, it can get dangerous, so stay safe even in our region, make no mistake. And even though we're not on that part of the grid, we're still going to be in the same state as the rest of them, so good luck to all of our fellow Texas citizens. But also, we've got more than a few issues definitely affecting us right here in the borderland. Those property valuations that we've talked about more than a little bit, we're getting the first hint at, well, what that might mean, particularly for the pocketbook here. Again, a world that I'm embarking on, and I'm ever so excited to have even more reason to be dropping those, well, one to the Franklins is the acronym that is otherwise more nicely used. WTF for those not figuring that part out, because we are looking at a potential, but increasing potential for property taxes to be increasing from the city of El Paso side of things. Then we've talked a lot about UMC recently, particularly in comparison to what they got going on with that suggested plan. And yes, that is still brewing in the background, but otherwise taxing rates are going to be ongoing discussions. And the city of El Paso, more or less, there's no official season, so to speak, but let's consider them kicking it off here by them looking at, it's one of those interesting situations. Again, given the way that stats, numbers, and money works out for you, they are technically looking at a drop of the property tax rate for residents of the city of El Paso. Got to remember the difference between the city and the county and what areas they covered, yada, yada. But essentially, what we are looking at here, El Paso Matters doing some pretty good in-depth on this so far. They're looking at a slight change, again, technically, that there is a currently 90.7 cent rate. Basically, for each, dollar valuation of your home, you get 90 cents per $100 in property valuation is what they're looking to drop it to. So dropping it three quarters of a cent. So technically a drop, but then when combined with that other part we've been talking about, the increasing property valuations, that is expected to, again, according to El Paso Matters math here, which I haven't found much issue with yet, an increase in the average home taxes, again, just from the city part of it, of just shy about $200, $193 to be exact here, then going on the appraisal value average here in El Paso of $172,000. So, yeah, that's a thing that could be happening. And they also do fully note that this is one of the first, because we have county and other of the 5 potential entities, including, and there may be more depending on your neck of the woods, including some of the water improvement districts, et cetera, school districts, as Flaco Jimenez is saying over there on the social media. Yep, absolutely. Saying, let's not forget about the school districts also loosely spending our money. Yeah, there's a lot of fingers in this particular pie, and a lot of ways the pie is being pulled up. And so, yeah, that's why this is one that we're probably, I'm just going to call this shot right now. I'm going to be talking about this a fair amount, because as we are getting into budget season, fiscal years coming to a close, et cetera, starting new ones, whatever the way you put it, the fact that the fiscal year doesn't match up with real years has always irked me a little bit, but I can get over that in so much as it doesn't happen all at once then, and it'll give us plenty to talk about this year. Because, yes, the city kind of kicking it off. Again, no official season, but if we were to have fireworks, I guess they'd start now, and they probably will be on this program. They're starting it out, and we got the city, county, school districts, community college. I know there's one more I'm missing here, but yeah, there's a lot to go into with all of that here. And some other commentary coming in about $15 of gas to see the current administration impeached there. Don't think that's exactly a cause or effect thing, but willing to do whatever you want to here. Flaco Jimenez saying, I think, again, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, good time to buy an electric car. I've been seeing a lot more talk about scooters lately. I don't think we're going to see an en masse movement of that happening in this country or even this city, because the amount of people who only survive by driving around blasting the AC full blast into their face, I'm among that. I will freely admit that's the only way I think I survive half the time here. So I can say from experience, I don't see a whole lot of people doing and completely willing to switch over, particularly with that rainy weather that we got going on right now. Well, I've been surprised in the past, and maybe I can be surprised again in the future, but I'm not going to hold my breath in the meantime. That's just a couple of the things that we want to talk about starting out here on this Monday morning. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. We got a lot more we'll be getting into here as we start off and kick off your week with more subjects here. Let's go into inflation, the consumer price index, and those expectations, plus the regional ones. So that and more coming out of this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Again, after this break, more of the... What would you add for lions and tigers and bears? What other concerns would you have? I guess the flying monkeys would work. Get at least one more there, but more on that after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere. Whatever is going on in the world, whatever is going on with your pocketbook, making the time to gather as a family, have those conversations around the dinner table, those family values we talk about ever so slightly, and have a good meal. Well, I can't think of much more that is pretty foundational to how you live your life, how you talk with your family, and how you enjoy the life you work so hard for. So why not make it that much better by getting the great supply of extra virgin olive oils, balsamic vinegars, and flavored olive oils from our friends over at Enhanced Flavors. They've got your local supply for them, sourced from the best places in the world: Italy, Tunisia, Greece, and Spain. Plus, they've got it right here for you. You can get it delivered to your door or find them out in the community. If you missed them this weekend, they are often out at some of the area farmers markets, particularly lately the Country Club Farmers Market. But regardless, you can find everything about what they've got, their supply, what we can get to you, plus a discount on your next order as you go to enhancedflavors.com. Just hit that code at checkout for the discount, EF Radio. That's EF as in Enhanced Flavors, EF Radio, and get 15% off your next order. So again, find them out in the community, or again, all the information online at enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On Gateway Boulevard, westbound at Trowbridge, a disabled semi, a stalled truck is blocking the right lane by the on-ramp. Stay left. I-10 westbound at Lee Trevino, another stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Delta Drive westbound at Coles. Before the Border Highway on-ramp, there's a crash that's blocking the right lane there. And an injury accident, George Dieter northbound at the 10 Gateway. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Red Pilled America is the storytelling show everyone is talking about. This week, we reveal the agenda behind the phrase cultural appropriation and how it's being used to keep you in check. Listen to Red Pilled America every week on the free iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Hey, it's Maura Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
Everyone loves shopping online. Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell my golf buddies when they buy clubs. Stop searching for coupon codes. Download Capital One Shopping to your computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Plus, it's free, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. That's like hitting a hole-in-one without even trying. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupons vary.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone?
Do flowers have best friends?
I don't know.
Hey, look.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv, either under Andrew J. Polk or Talk El Paso. You'll be able to find us and chime in, as we have some people doing already. Calvin Williams, good afternoon to you as well. John Brazelton, Glauca Jimenez, John Hertz, and more, also dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate Calvin Williams, Ida Beza Gardner, Ed Clore, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Glauca Jimenez, and more. So, it just helps with all our things in our mission to keep having live local talk radio here in El Paso, because I think we're worth it. And frankly, we need to have more discussion about the things going on and affecting us here, because having less isn't working out for us, I don't think. Anyway, a lot of stuff we're discussing here today. John Brazelton with his comment here: in the early 1900s, there was only horses and no air conditioning. People were tougher back then. A lot less people lived here, at least this exact area, West Texas, what we now know as West Texas anyway. At that point in time, I mean, if you want to go back any previous point in time, yes, human habitation stretches back at least 4,000 years within our region, but 2 points I want to make weren't a lot of them, and they tend to live right next to the damn water, because going anywhere else didn't really work out. So, sure, you absolutely have a point. But let's just say I would, if the power were to go out anywhere, wouldn't be a great thing. And I think we'd fare decently okay here. I fully expect Phoenix, Arizona, if they're like just, catastrophic solar flare, whatever have you, and just no recoupability of the power grid and power supply, Phoenix is going to more or less catch on fire or just have a cavern open up to it and descend into the pits of hell, literally or figuratively. Either way, it's going to happen. So, yes, technically correct. And yet, I don't think it's going to be a good time if we're going to have that happen here. Just there would not be the amount of people there is here now, because sure, there would always be the hardiest of the hardy willing to do so. There'd be a whole lot of people saying, getting the heck out of Dodge. There tends to be a reason that a lot of human habitation, or at least mass human habitation, has happened in places where they like actually have winter, or even heck here locally, the people who got the heck out of town and went up to like Crowcroft or Ruidoso for the summer. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. Again, not wrong, but let's keep it in perspective here as we are talking about these many and varied issues going on with just all the things going on. So taxes affecting us here locally, power grid issues for the rest of Texas. Basically, again, why I'm, among other reasons, happy to be exactly where we are here, positioned geographically, politically, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the other ones that is coming up and will be affecting us here very directly is inflation. Because, the CPI, Consumer Price Index, had it right here for you. Well, it's affecting stocks, among other things, lower on Wall Street today as they are preparing for a key inflation reading. Global economic worries also weighed on markets ahead of a slew of corporate earnings reports. Key inflation figures are due out Wednesday with the release of the Consumer Price Index for June. Dow Industrial Average lost 164 points, and the S&P fell 44 points, and NASDAQ dropped 262. Some of the estimates that I am seeing putting it closer to about like 8.8% for June. So that is still a very big problem here, even if it's, I don't know, depending on how you measure these things, leveling out, maybe not. But, well, let's just say some of the other people in town, including El Paso Wing, just their recent article headline out of this latest issue, why the chance of an economic downturn in El Paso is rising. You may have heard of a couple of stores closing, and particularly in downtown or in Fox Plaza, with some pretty foundational things in them. FIS, whatever you think of them, but CVS, basic drugs and minor grocery, or the food city in Fox Plaza, if I'm saying the correct outlet there, but the grocery store, the one I'm talking about there, it's a problem. And them interviewing one of our, better experts we like talking to about economic conditions in the area. Thomas Fullerton, part of the Border Region Economic Modeling Project, BRMP, and UTEP professor of economics. 50% of a regional or metropolitan economy going to fall into a recession, being quoted in saying there. And Calvin Williams saying, with everything going on in this country, how in the world can a politician encourage protest? I think anytime that comes up, frankly, they're hoping to ride the wave and that they will be on top of the wave as opposed to being crushed under it. But expectations like that can change as well. Maria Coleman saying, what is the logical rationale to remain in El Paso? Those on a fixed income are being taxed out of their homes. The taxes never declined. We have minimal inputs. I've got at least a minor solution, a cumulative solution, shall we say, for that second part of here, input, and that more people paying more attention, being more involved in the electoral process. Not even just in we got to select better people, because that's a kind of a one-off. And technically, when you talk about the entity like we were mentioning here today so far, city council, temporary, they've got 2 terms. So yes, it's a good chunk of years, but still it's periodic. But I hold the further contention that even just the process of paying attention, being more aware, and having then that result show up in the polls about greater actual people going out and voting would have an effect here, almost psychological, essentially, that, people are paying attention, and it's not just the 5 people who regularly show up to the meetings of whatever body, the elected officials that we're talking about here, and they are going to hold us more accountable. Maybe we have to do some different things. That's my contention, which I wonder if will ever get proved here. Some mildly pessimistic things coming up in the comments here as well. But there's this potential for some regional economic slowdowns, or even just locally. Again, we're looking at even beyond what we're talking about, just right here, with these increasing, amounts of interest going to be charged in order to try to curb the amount of inflation that is continuing up here. Of course, the Federal Reserve has made very clear their plan of attack on this is to raise the interest rates. We've already seen it go up by 0.25% and even 0.5% or 0.75% so far. Basis points, if you've heard those, it's kind of a fancier way of saying points of a percent. 0.1% as a basis point. So going up 0.75% would be, again, that 75 basis points. I think I said that right. In any case, yeah, they're going up. And whether or not they actually continue on this whole train of reasoning and thought on this process remains to be seen. I fully expect, and I think others are bearing this out as well, not a crystal ball reader, nor an economist, nor a financial advisor, so don't take it this way, but that there will probably be another major rise in interest rates. Would be very curious to know if they'll go even a full percent point, 1%, which again doesn't sound like, well, 1%. What does that mean? Anyone who's tried to apply for a loan, borrow money, or get financing lately can tell you that makes one hell of a lot of difference in the foundational way, because all the other interest rates, from your home loans to your credit cards to any other amount of financing, is going to come right off of that. So good luck to us in that case. That, of course, sets some, again, very foundational bases for how people are determining if they're going to open up businesses, if they're going to continue doing it. We've talked more than a little bit on this program about businesses wanting to come into the area. Was over at the Westtown Marketplace recently, behind which Snyder Electric is continuing their construction on their expanded local manufacturing campus. And I don't know if any of these, they're continuing a pace there, that's for sure, because even in the midst of this and these concerns about economic slowdowns that may affect average businesses, your mom and pops, your smaller ones always seem to take it on the chin more than any of the big guys. There are still those shortages going on, the supply chain crunches. And while baby formula, at the very least, El Paso Matters reporting that it seems to have returned here regionally. Anyway, having back filled up here. And I did notice that the last time I went to one of the big box and supermarkets in our area, but there are a lot more that are still, and general products that are still difficult to get in hand, both from the consumer sector, and those are the ones that you're going to see there. And they're again mentioning some groups in their reporting from El Paso Matters, focusing on this, even looking at crossing the border here. They've got a decent write-up on the whole situation. Some of these larger, more durable goods is the kind of general category, but really industrial products that you don't have that much interaction with, you might not notice anyway. When we're talking about transformers, electrical hookups, all of these things are still having some pretty serious supply issues that even for new construction on houses can take even just getting hooked up to the grid for some order of weeks or months longer than might otherwise be expected. So yeah, it's a problem here, though John Brazelton attempting to put it into perspective with us a little bit more, saying in the early years of the Reagan administration, interest rates were at 14%. I think there is some out there, at least commenting on this program, have said, yeah, there's not quite an apples-to-apples comparison depending on how you look at it. But again, so Consumer Price Index is a pretty decent one, and it continues going up. And it's not, they got rid of that phrase transitory pretty quickly and accurately, it does seem, right? Because, yeah, it's not going away anytime soon. And what will be very interesting to see, beyond all of these specific regional and local things we are feeling the impacts of, make no mistake, is again, top level Federal Reserve, if they're going to continue with this interest hike plan, which, as has been noted, 7 out of 10 times results in a recession, which, again, depending on who you ask and how you measure it, we are technically in one now, which then could lead to even a further one. I'm not trying to dampen or dour spirits here, but if we're not encouraging a hard look at reality and what the actual circumstances are, parable of the, not exactly a parable, but the story of the crickets and the ants comes to mind, like, oh, it'll be fine, right up until it isn't, and then you're left frozen and dying during the winter. Now, again, we don't have the winters here, but you get the economic situation I'm discussing here. And yeah, there's a whole lot more comments coming in here. Flaco Jimenez saying, among other things, we need more ankle biters. And RJ saying that we need to understand more than ever right now, it's not left versus right. It's globalist build back better versus turn American energy and economy back on. At the very least, some of what the Federal Reserve is, at least the very much reasoning that is given with those kind of situations, is essentially the interest rate is the major tool that the Federal Reserve has to them. kind of along the lines of you go to a barber, you're going to get your hair cut regardless of what was going on and what you actually needed. And so they're going to mess with the interest rates. It's their primary power outside of some other kind of monetary supply issues, again, bonds and reserve rates actually held by banks. But what it really affects most directly, you and me, is those interest rates. And frankly, if they're trying to see a recovery happen, dropping it is what they usually do, but given down the very low rates that they were already, they can't exactly drop it anymore. That's why they seem to, at least historically and what I've studied anyway, want to increase them at least for a clip of time in order to make it more possible for them to drop again. But also with the scary phrase, stagflation, which is just, it's both stagnation, but inflation continuing to happen. I'm hoping we don't get there. And Fluckin Meta saying somewhat incredulously, I think many what this was supposed to be transitory. They got rid of that phrase earlier this year for that exact reason, because that yarn had already run out that they were trying to spin there. Tell you what, we got to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will get to more of those comments and get closer to those calls here for today, because we got a lot more to get to, including, of course, those ideas of energy costs and blackouts, what's really going on there. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso, airing live here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Get out of this break, more talk about the things affecting us here in this region. So stay tuned. After this break, don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with your KFOX 14 News Update. El Paso County Commissioners have agreed to raise the starting pay again for lifeguards to $14 an hour. Currently, lifeguards earn $13 and lifeguard leads are paid just slightly more than $14 an hour. Hiring incentives such as $800 were offered to hires at the beginning of the 2022 swim season, but the bonus is not employing as many lifeguards to fully staff all three county pools. Also, at the beginning of the season, the pool of candidates that could apply to be a lifeguard was open to 15-year-olds under a new provision. But as of July 2nd, there are 11 lifeguards working at the county pools. During the 2019 swimming season, the county of El Paso employed 19. Other U.S. cities like Austin, Phoenix, and New Orleans are also experiencing lifeguard shortages due to competition for candidates. In El Paso County, certifying lifeguards is the factor. So far this year, there have been 91 applicants. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
On your El Paso traffic, Gateway Boulevard westbound at Trowbridge, the right lane by the on-ramp is blocked by a white tractor trailer, stay to the left. Trans Mountain eastbound at Kenworthy, an injury accident. Delta Drive westbound at Coles, an accident's blocking the right lane before the Border Highway on-ramp. And North and South Desert Boulevard is closed at Artcraft today for roadwork. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the Fort Warren Weather Center, this is CBS 4 weather forecaster Brady Brewster. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. We are tracking a hot day today across the borderland. Could see those temperatures back into the triple digits with chances for thunderstorms once again this afternoon. As normal, the biggest threat for today will be that heavy rainfall, so flash flooding possible in some areas. Make sure you're staying weather aware and visit our website, cbs4local.com, for all the details on this forecast.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Some banks can make it complicated to redeem credit card rewards. But with Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Talk about amazing. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Invest wisely. Paid for by Chaikin Analytics. Introducing Mark Chaikin.
I'm the guy you're supposed to hate. I spent 50 years on Wall Street where I helped create the entire stock rating system. And I'm here to tell you a very strange day is coming to America. In short, a massive and surprising new transition could soon determine the next group of millionaires while leaving 99% of the public even worse off than before. But if you want to be on the right side of the huge new shift I predict is coming to the market, you absolutely must consider buying one particular type of investment now before it's too late. And no, it's not cryptocurrencies. I just posted the biggest prediction of my 50-year career, along with the name and ticker symbol of the number one investment to buy right now. For the first time ever, I'm handing these details not to the Wall Street elite, but to you.
To get the full story, plus the number one investment to buy right now, go to investingprediction.com/radio. That's investingprediction.com/radio to learn more. free of charge. Investingprediction.com/radio.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Game shows are typically a combination of luck and skill, but for one show, Press Your Luck, a contestant just memorized how to win by watching a lot. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Oh, there's a lot of things we're talking about here today, so if you want to chime in, we've got those social media pages up right now. A lot of comments coming in. RJ, Kathy Codery over on the YouTube, Cal Williams, Flaco Jimenez, John Brazelton, Maria Coleman, John Hertz a little bit earlier, and more over on the Facebook, but really anywhere you want to do it is a good place to, and dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate Cal Williams, Ida Beza Gardner, Ed Clore, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and Flaco Jimenez. Just helps with all those algorithmic things. Whatever you may think about it, if you like having live local talk radio in the region, you're more than welcome to let us know over there. We do get a lot of interesting feedback, and I take it all in stride as much as I can. And ever since, let's talk about approval ratings a bit, since it's coming up here, and why I still have some questions about what might happen between now and November. Let's just say that nationally, yeah, there's some issues for the Biden administration, including hitting a record low, I do believe, at 33% now, feeling that, that's the only approval rating going on there. So the split specifically not working out that well, and many more, including a New York Times poll saying that the voters on the direction of the economy, direction of the country, going very highly in the other way. Times CBS survey of adults. Do you feel that things in this country are generally going in the right direction, or do you feel things have pretty seriously gotten off on the wrong track? And yeah, it ain't looking great there, happening at the start of July here. And then also a New York Times Siena College poll of 849 registered voters. So there are a lot of underwater situations going on for this administration, but and at least one comment I want to get to there, Calvin Williams saying, Mohammed Saeed al-Sahaf was a better communicator than Biden and more accurate, even when he said there are no tanks in Baghdad. That's a little bit before my time watching the news coverage that happened to that point, but I had to pull up that clip during the break there, and yeah, I vaguely remember that one and how just double-think dystopian it was. Flaco Jimenez saying it seems they really don't care about approval ratings. They care more about their agenda. I was having some conversations recently that honestly, and getting a bit out of field here, I'm just putting this out there. I am not going to be entirely surprised if, as we get towards 2024, unless things significantly turn around, that there might not be even if it were to happen tomorrow, let's say the start of the primary process, I would think there would be attempts to primary out this current administration, even from within its own party here. But again, a lot could happen even just before November. So turning back a little bit closer to home, we do have, of course, the gubernatorial elections are taking a lot of space and column inches in our area and in the state. And, well, in order to focus on that, we have Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke launching a 49 campaign tour of Texas, going around the state to look at, well, a variety of more than 65 counties, 70 public events coming up here. Very reminiscent of some of the previous tours and campaigns that have been done by him. Not quite on the scale, even of the visiting every county, though I guess if you like didn't sleep, you could still squeeze it in here before the end of it. But well, the end of the actual campaign season, though I doubt if you were going to do that, you would have already started doing that by my mind. But also, I'm not running for there and have no idea what the thought process of someone who is. In any case, a lot of points being made about, well, the ratings and polling going on here. You may have seen one getting put out more than a little bit, including most recently from the Texas Tribune as well. Governor Greg Abbott's lead over O'Rourke narrows to 6 points, poll finds, referring to their Texas Politics Project poll. And it's one of the smaller ones here. Also some strange allusions to the George W. Bush and Ann Richards election of 94, which I'm not quite as sure is totally apt here, particularly since it went in the other direction. But when we're talking about this election, of course, we've got more regional races that we also do focus on here. Very common mentioning event happening in our region, actually, if you want to focus on it here. But yeah, this race, I don't think is over at all. It's also being mentioned that Greg Abbott's favorability is one of the lowest points it has been since his time in that particular office here. But whether or not that'll actually make a difference to a lot of voters, because some of the things being cited as concerns among those potential voters in some of these recent polls are, well, among other things, the Uvalde shooting and situation, economics in general, and a smattering and myriad other issues here. So whether or not those stay in place or will be transitory themselves as we head towards November still definitely remains to be seen. And so this kicking off of this tour, one of the more, I guess, proactive-ish, if you want to really call it that, things coming out of the O'Rourke campaign since the start of this real process, at least one of the more ambitious ones being noted by many out there. So whether or not this actually translates to votes for him, of course, prior to this, we did have that Governor Greg Abbott was pushing, I think the estimates were about $20 million statewide out of his pretty massive campaign war chest that has never particularly dwindled in order to ramp up some of those focuses on O'Rourke. We actually, I need to pull it out around here. I was mildly surprised. We got a poster from the Abbott campaign into our offices here. I'll try to take a picture of it. I'll post it up on social media here in a probably a little bit later today, if not tomorrow, because I was mildly surprised. Like, yeah, I didn't know, frankly, that they knew who we were, but I'll take it in stride. The idea of flip-flopping on certain issues. So point being, I fully expect that to be something further focused on by this campaign, by the governor's office as he looks further towards this, even as some people asking, Calvin Williams asking 6 points. Who are they asking? I mean, there's some different rankings. Let me see if I can pull up the exact reaches that they were putting on here. And John Browson saying they're only surveying the drug addicts in Austin. I don't think that they can usually indicate who they're voting for, but I've been surprised in the past as well here. That's going to take us to our next break of the hour, and what we'll go ahead and do at this point in the show, as we normally do, is open up those phone lines. So if you're wanting to chime in on the show, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot to get to, and we'll, of course, keep delving into it as we do here on Talk El Paso. And yeah, a lot of comments. We'll get to some of those as well. But if you want to call in, chime in that way, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On your El Paso traffic, Gateway Boulevard westbound at Trowbridge, the right lane by the on-ramp is blocked by a white tractor trailer, stay to the left. Trans Mountain eastbound at Kenworthy, an injury accident. Delta Drive westbound at Coles, an accident's blocking the right lane before the Border Highway on-ramp. And North and South Desert Boulevard is closed at Artcraft today for road work. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples is your one-stop travel prep destination. Right now, when you purchase any travel service like passport photos, you can get 20% off your purchase. In-store only. Offer ends 7/31. See staples.com/travel for details and exclusions. Get travel ready at Staples, the working and learning store.
Did you know audio memory lasts 6 times longer than visual memory? That's why businesses advertise with iHeartMedia, the #1 audio company in the country. Reach consumers with radio, podcasting, streaming, and more. Make your business a household name and visit iHeartAdvertising.com or call 844-BUY-RADIO. Grow your reach, grow your business. Call iHeartMedia today. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com or call 844-BUY-RADIO.
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic, but if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer. That's your regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is the leading cancer killer, but can be prevented with regular screenings starting at age 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
New on Curiosity Stream. Grab your decoder ring. We're cracking the world's most famous encryptions. From the mom who took down the mob to the Zodiac Killer. See how the pros hide their secrets in plain sight on Cracking the Code. Plus, it was impossible to recruit intelligence agents without recruiting war criminals. Meet the retirees of the Third Reich who gathered Cold War intelligence for the U.S. on Nazis and the CIA. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
You should be able to earn money with your money and with more control. Solo Funds makes it simple. With the Solo Funds app, you lend money to other members to help them replace a tire or cover an emergency expense, and they pay you back with a tip. It's a win-win. Plus, you control which loans you fund and when you fund them, so you can make a difference and a return. Join us. Download the Solo Funds app on the App Store or Google Play Store.
Red Pilled America is the storytelling show everyone is talking about. This week, we reveal the agenda behind the phrase cultural appropriation and how it's being used to keep you in check. Listen to Red Pilled America every week on the free iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show, particularly as we have opened up those phone lines now. That number to call if you want to get your 2 cents that way on this Monday afternoon is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. I had a couple of questions coming in over on the social media about that poll, among other things. So, yeah, the Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas at Austin shows that, yes, there is a roughly 6-point spread with a margin of error of 2.89%. Let's call it 3% here. So not within the margin of error by any means, as some of those, whenever that has happened a couple of times over this whole election process, this gubernatorial election process, once those candidates became clear anyway, and McConaughey got out of the way, shall we say. Is pretty close there, though I will also say that about 13% combined voters either said that they wanted someone else or haven't thought about it enough to have an opinion, which is, I think, one of the reasons that we did see Governor Abbott drop that big chunk of change on further voter outreach in the area, and has, hard to say exactly, or at the very least in any kind of concrete qualitative way, as opposed to just kind of like, it seems like more maybe ramped up a bit on some of these issues, including border security and immigration, that he is really harping on. RJ saying that the Beto toke up torque and coming in soon, a haze of logic we can all get behind, or stoned and fool ourselves here. And Kathy Codry on the YouTube apparently appreciating that one, saying bullseye there. I think that's, well, it has been a part of his campaign. Been a minute since I've checked in on his website, but there's been cumulatively more, maybe, kind of, I guess you could say, on some of the campaign planks of it. But really, it's some total of it, I really do have to say, is a don't like Greg Abbott, vote for me kind of campaign. That's really what it boils down to. Yes, there are finer points, and I don't necessarily agree on that. But Maria Coleman with an interesting comment here, saying, I do believe Abbott is more vulnerable this time around. The border crisis and the fiasco of the Uvalde shooting, that will exploit the incident, cover up to his advantage. But a candidate advocating open borders and gun control is not a viable option. That, I think, is the major sticking points coming up for Texas, which is why then maybe I'm out of place on this. But again, just from my perspective, it does seem like the whole among other things, no, we don't want to get away. I'm actually a Second Amendment supporter. That narrative has largely been put aside for now. And furthermore, I think we're playing back to greatest hits. I think that's one of the major points of that poster. I don't think I can run over there and get the picture and get it up online before the top of the hour rejoin here, but we'll get it up online for you shortly. Let me know what you think once we do. But okay, the questions keep coming up. Calvin Williams, among others, asking in that poll, they must have surveyed the 6 people that showed up with Beto to the Trump rally in El Paso. Okay, so specifically, it was a YouGov survey interviewing 1,359 Texas registered voters between June 16th and 24th. Were matched down to a sample of 1,200 to produce the final data set. They do say that they get in touch with them because both the YouGov survey system that they have and say that they, on a variety of topics, help ensure diversity in panel populations, and they reach out to them, including web-based advertising campaigns, permissions-based email campaigns, partner-sponsored solicitation, telephone-to-web recruitment, and mail-to-web recruitment, with a lot of other acronyms on here. We can go super deep in the weeds, and I don't think we need to right now. Point is that they say that specifically these are registered voters in Texas. Some of the differences you might see in other polls is that they are prospective voters, people who have indicated that they will or are strongly considering voting. At least one in the recent-ish time frame has been a no idea what kind of voters they are or not. That was one of the more close ones recently, but this one coming closer here, and again, a lot of focus on UT and Austin as a part of this. I'm not saying you're wrong, but they do have some methodology. You can find it particularly over at texaspolitics.utexas.edu to find out that. And what this poll wasn't even limited to that, to be perfectly honest with you. It included a lot of response to other issues, including abortion issues, some of those more statewide, and Uvalde, other things like that. So there's a lot to go on here, but also on economics. That was one of the more interesting situations that in this poll, because, again, it was still overall in favor of Abbott, though maybe showing some of that vulnerability that Maria Kalman was mentioning there, did say that economics and also guns were pretty high there, but really, I mean, economics keeps coming down to a serious issue, because if you're not focusing on the economy, it's the economy, stupid. I keep coming back to that anyway. And any candidate who is like, sure, you can get a few single issue voters out there who are going to vote reliably with whatever your stance on an issue is. Majority of people, whenever it comes to greater personal pain and pressure on them, that's what is going to end up driving them to the polls, maybe donating, but ultimately making an impact. So, I mean, really, another part of this poll is saying that about 59% of respondents said that the state was on the wrong track. One of the largest share of negative responses since this kind of poll has been done since 2008. So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Look at the methodology yourself to make your own determinations here. But a rosy picture, it does not totally project for Abbott. Yes, again, still fully in control of this race, it does seem, but with a potential lead narrowing. Let me just put it this way, as to bring it home for this hour anyway, that if you're not considering voting, you're already considering to not have your voice be heard as a part of this. As Flaco Jimenez said ever so eloquently a little bit earlier, there need to be more ankle biters here. And even if you can't make it out to meetings of any of our elected bodies or the major ones we're talking about here in the state capitol and such, making sure your voice is heard, literally foundational to all of this. So if you find yourself enthused, incensed, upset, or emotional in any way about this kind of an outcome, this kind of a potential result here, you need to make your plan to vote. Make sure you're registered to vote, because remember, in Texas, the end of registering to vote is 1 month before Election Day, so have that in mind. I'm going to have to do that myself with any potential relocations I'm looking at, so you bet your butt I'm going to do that as soon as I can and as I need to make sure that I'm able to vote in these elections. I'm aware of at least one person who was a resident of Texas, relocated within Texas, and yet there was an issue because they sent in their form right about that cutoff a little bit before, and we're having very serious issues with actually getting the new residency required, even within the state of Texas. So don't leave it up to chance or last minute. Don't do the usual El Paso thing anyway and say, I'll take care of it right before and it'll be just fine, because you don't want to be in that situation of being one of the active voters out there and then unable to do so. So please, 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 please make your plan to vote and then plan to take as many friends as you feel like to go and do it with you. Because if we don't get more people out to the polls and participating in this, I don't see us seeing any kind of change in trajectory, even if sentiments may be going on. Not talking about specifically how the waxing and waning of those undecided voters, that ever nebulous category may be, but just as the way events are progressing, without more people getting involved and changing just the base level calculation, unconscious probably, if it's not fully in front of mind for these politicians, that people are paying attention and therefore I have to respond to that attention being paid. May sound like circular logic, but you'd be surprised what elected officials do when they know someone is watching versus when they don't. And I think we're a little bit on the other side of that scale, shall we say here. So that's going to take us through the top of the hour break here right now. We're going to continue talking about the things affecting us here in the borderland. A lot of comments coming in over on the social medias. But again, we have that phone line open right now. We'll get into more of those after this break in the top of the hour news. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking El Paso traffic. Gateway Boulevard still a mess westbound at Trowbridge. A right lane there is blocked by the on-ramp because of a white tractor trailer. Stay left. A crash on northbound Mesa Street north of Executive Center Boulevard at Camelot Heights. You could use Brentwood or Stanton as your alternate. And Delta Drive westbound at Coles before the Border Highway on-ramp. A crash is blocking the right lane. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
With so many real estate agents to choose from, how do you find the best one? Hi, it's Glenn Beck. One key is just looking for the investment that an agent is willing to make to get your home sold. Brian Birds with eXp Realty and his team have a marketing budget 25 times higher than the average agent's annual income. This means your home gets maximum exposure because it's marketed to the widest possible audience and gets you the highest possible sales price. Brian is so confident in his ability to sell your home fast and for more money that he's willing to put his own money on the line. If your home doesn't sell at the price and deadline you agreed to, he'll buy it from you himself. I'm not going to find another real estate agent in El Paso who is that invested in getting your home sold. He's the only one I'd call. Google Brian Birds. That's Brian, B-U-R-D-S. Read over 400 five-star reviews because I'm not the only one who knows you should call Brian Birds. Google Brian Birds or just check out brianbirds.com.
Rich is just a really good guy. The term good egg isn't enough to describe him. He's also certified organic and free range. Rich puts the cap back on everything. The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich, no. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Because you never hear this.
Hey, hon, I'm late. Chris, I am so pleased you missed the beginning of our meeting.
Thanks for making me wait, Dad. I talked to a lot of strangers.
Check on your commute. Stay informed. Traffic and weather all day. Or you might never hear the end of it.
Well, you were late to our anniversary dinner that one time.
Yes, how could I forget?
El Paso's News Radio. News on the hour. KTSM. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The White House expects food and gas prices to be highly elevated when the latest Consumer Price Index, or CPI, report is released. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre suggested the CPI will be somewhat outdated when it's released because it won't address gradual recent declines in gas prices. The governor of Texas wants full disclosure when it comes to information about the deadly Uvalde school shooting.
One thing that must be done is the release of that more than 70-minute video of exactly what happened in the school on that day. with only one thing eliminated, and that is any images of those who are victims.
The Texas Department of Public Safety says the Uvalde County DA is preventing the release of hallway video from the shooting. Speaking in Dallas, Republican Greg Abbott said it's especially critical that the people of Uvalde know exactly what happened on that tragic day in May. The family of a black man shot and killed by police in Akron, Ohio, is demanding a public apology from city officials for his death. Representatives for Jayland Walker's family said they've heard from both Police Chief Steve Milet and Mayor Dan Horrigan privately. Amber Heard is asking a Virginia court for a mistrial, but Johnny Depp's attorneys are objecting. More from Rebecca Hughes.
Lawyers for actor Johnny Depp are arguing the $10 million verdict in his trial with ex-wife Amber Heard should stand, despite an issue with one of the jurors. Depp was awarded that money after it was determined Heard defamed him when she alluded to domestic violence allegations in a 2018 op-ed piece she wrote. Now Heard's lawyers argue one of the jurors was not the person who received the summons. Depp's lawyers responded by saying she waived her right to object by not raising the issue sooner. I'm Rebecca Hughes.
The Dow lost 164 points to 31,173. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. A new poll says Americans are ready to send their representative back to Congress following this year's election. Michael Kastner has more.
The Gallup survey put that number at 53%. It's slightly higher than 4 years ago, the last time a midterm election was held. Despite believing that their particular member deserves another term, those surveyed said that isn't the case when it comes to most members of Congress. Just 21% say they deserve re-election. I'm Michael Kastner.
Don't expect a decision on possible punishment for Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson in the near future. CBS Sports' Josina Anderson reported today that an NFL source says unless Watson and the league reach an agreement, it could still be a few weeks until a district judge rules on Watson's case. Better Call Saul is returning tonight for part 2 of its final season.
It's the day Saul and Walter White fans have been waiting for. Better Call Saul's Bob Odenkirk gave fans a tip on today.
If you're a fan of Breaking Bad and you haven't seen Better Call Saul yet, you should catch up, because in our final season, the two shows, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, are enmeshed like they've never been before.
The final episodes will include Walter White's character, played by Bryan Cranston, and Jesse Pinkman, played by Aaron Paul in the storyline. Odenkirk suffered a near-fatal heart attack filming the final season last summer and has since recovered. The final episodes will be available to Hulu subscribers tonight, starting at 9/8 Central on the AMC network, and also available on Netflix. I'm Lisa Taylor.
A Florida man is in jail after he tried to get away from police on his riding lawnmower over the weekend. Dusty Mobley hopped on the mower and took off when Okaloosa County Sheriff's deputies came to his home Saturday morning. Deputies chased him down and tased him before taking him into custody. The 40-year-old Mobley is now facing a long list of charges, including grand theft. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Pay. That's pay. Enter it now.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Red Pilled America is the storytelling show everyone is talking about. This week, we reveal the agenda behind the phrase cultural appropriation and how it's being used to keep you in check. Listen to Red Pilled America every week on the free iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. This spring, you can share your own observations about nature with scientists and play a critical role in scientific discovery by adding to their data collection. Discover more about citizen science programs such as monitoring weather, observing plants and animals, and more. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
iHeartRadio wants to send you to Brooklyn to see two of the biggest comedians on the planet, Chris Rock and Kevin Hart, at their Rock Hard Only Headliners Allowed tour at Barclays Center. We'll fly you there, put you up in a hotel, get your premium seats to the show, plus some merch from Chris and Kevin, and access to the pre-show VIP lounge for you and a guest. To win, just listen to 24/7 Comedy on the free iHeartRadio app, and you'll automatically be entered. Tickets on sale now at SeatGeek.com. Chris Rock and Kevin Hart, live in Brooklyn from iHeartRadio.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We got a lot of stuff and a lot of issues we're getting into here today, including, again, the whole Lions and Tigers and Bears form that didn't quite work with us. Taxes, inflation, energy costs, blackouts, shortages. Oh my! It doesn't quite work the same way, but you get what I'm getting at here. A lot of serious issues facing us at the start of this week, some developing even just over the weekend, particularly with that whole, I think we are still technically in it, that time frame that ERCOT is telling the rest of Texas anyway to keep the power off if at all possible. One of the many reasons I'm happy we are where we are, geographically, power grid-wise. Anyway, but we got a lot of stuff that we'll continue talking about here. We do have those phone lines open now. If that's your preferred method of chiming in on the show, that number to call there is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of comments coming in on all those pages as well. Flaco Jimenez, Maria Coleman, RJ, EFR, Kathy Codry, John Brazelton, Calvin Williams, and more over there. And again, dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate Calvin Williams, Ida Beta Baeza Gardner, Ed Clore, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and Flaco Jimenez. One of the points being made here is about the comfortability of some of the elected officials here, and I think that's one of the points I like to try to make the most here is that, yeah, there should never be a comfortable and resting on their laurels politician out there, either in or out of office, just period. If they're out of office, I'm not as concerned about them, but particularly in office. Because, yeah, them saying, well, I don't have anything to worry about, people will always vote for me, therefore I can do whatever, is literally not how it's supposed to work. So she put it decently, succinctly here. Some other comments coming in about different particular candidates and points on here, including EFR saying we need to pay attention to any local elections that are happening, calling out specifically or being run into the ground with Dems in control in El Paso, and time we make a big change to that or this city is going to be hurting. But more succinctly, I think here, and I just like the way she put it, Maria Coleman, saying politicians should not feel comfortable that their staying in office is a foregone conclusion or obtaining a victory based on low voter participation. Incumbents perceive that they have a mandate and constituents approve of their job performance. If you want change, then please vote. And I think Flaco Jimenez also waving us welcome back to the program here. Thank you for that. But seriously, getting people out to vote is foundational in just a whole lot of ways. Even if, and I mean even if, because sure, by definition, someone who goes out and vote, not everyone who goes out and vote, unless we have a 100% election, which draws its own questions, let's be honest, will be someone's going to be left wanting or upset about one of their choices potentially. But I submit further to y'all that even just the simple act of voting, by increasing the voter turnout numbers, causes a change in the mentality of those that are then elected. Or at least it should. Otherwise, particularly if that trend continues, I don't think they'll continue to be that elected official. But let's go back to those phone lines right now. Again, those open through the end of the program now, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM, the number to call there. We do have Barbara on the west side here with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to, I was hearing the callers on Abbott and Beto.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote down a few things here to contrast the two. Now, Beto, well, let me start with Governor Abbott. He's doing everything within his legal authority to stop illegals from entering into our state. His hands are tied behind his back. I know people are angry because he's not deporting who he's picking up, but rather taking them to the ports of entry. Turns out he doesn't have any legal authority to do that. And if he did that, he would be jeopardizing legally our DPS and Customs Border Patrol. So there are a lot of factors, and I think I've mentioned that before. Beto, on the other hand, wants to tear down the wall. He wants to continue the tsunami of people into our country. Does he have a plan? Nope. He's totally silent on a plan because he's for open borders. On the transgender, Governor Abbott wants to protect our female athletes. What did Beto do? He wore a T-shirt that said, "Don't mess with our trans kids." I think that's what it said. And there was pushback on that, and now he's totally silent. No plan, no explanation, just no comment on what he really thinks. Marijuana, studies have shown that it is more potent than it has been in 20 decades. And it is damaging our children's still developing brains. Beto has wanted to legalize marijuana since he was in city council. Despite knowing those facts, and now they're saying that children are getting addicted because it is so potent. Then we have inflation, we have oil and gas. Governor Abbott wants to open up oil and drilling in Texas. I haven't heard a plan from O'Rourke because he's for the Green New Deal. So Governor Abbott puts out policies for every Texan. Beto, on the other hand, is totally Green New Deal. He's got these radical agenda that he supports. School choice. Governor Abbott is for school choice. I haven't heard a peep from Beto on school choice. So these are the differences between the two candidates. So one is conservative and the other one is far left, and he's got radical views on how the state of Texas should be run, and consequently how the United States is being will be affected by negative policies, provided that Beto wins. I doubt he is, but people need to stop and think about what his agenda is, where he stands, and does he really have a plan for anything other than he messed up, Governor Abbott messed up the border by withholding the 53 vans from crossing to Mexico. We lost money. Well, we're losing billions and billions with illegal immigrants coming into our country. So let's not cry about suffering for a few days, a few weeks, and doing without, because we're going to be crying in a few years because we're doing without a lot and suffering hard. So I hope that El Paso gets out and votes. I hope they think about the differences between the candidates, because we certainly can't let somebody go in there with a mentality that he wants to tear down the wall. So, and that's another thing that Congressman Escobar supports, open borders. You've seen what her policies are, what her mentality is, what her agenda is. So we need to put in Irina Armendariz in there. And we know what Samaniego said, let them all in. We know what we're doing. We know where to take them. Well, that's proven to be inaccurate. We need to vote for Guadalupe Giner for county judge, and we need to put in Blanca Trout for commissioner. I mean, there's so many good candidates, and I keep repeating myself. El Paso, go vote, take your friends. Don't stay home. This is a real important election. We can't let people that don't tell us what their policies are in office. If they can't be bold enough to let us know exactly what they have planned for Texas, for El Paso, I don't recommend you vote for anybody that doesn't give a definite plan with what they're going to do with specific topics for the state of Texas. So I say, like the other gentleman said, let's go Brandon. And I say vote for Abbott.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you on the idea of policies being paramount, and even just personally, that's how I weigh the difference between candidates, because sure, platitudes are great at attitudes about, well, this is what I like and I don't like this. Like, you know what? Sure, that helps me get to know them better. But when I'm really doing, putting it on the scale and weighing out which one is better than not, the policies and the way they may or may not affect me are what bring it home. And I'm curious to know how many people actually do that, because I know I'm weird in a lot of ways when it comes to politics and how I think about it. But I contend that this is one of the more important ways that the politics and the policies, specifically of any elected official, are going to come down and affect you, will be what is actually their plan. Because sure, saying, oh, well, we need clean energy, or oh, we need to support the energy sector. Actually, I was mildly surprised. I've been looking up here since the break, since I realized I hadn't checked on the actual website for O'Rourke here in a minute. He actually has a very interesting idea for a power grid and actually energy supplies here in Texas. He says he wants to expand Texas energy leadership and maintain its role as the energy capital of the world, including increasing jobs in oil and gas, but also strenuously removing all emissions from the industry with aggressively enforcing pollution laws and create jobs and emission reduction strategies. Me quoting directly from the website there. So I was mildly surprised to see that. Did not recall seeing that last time I had perused the project and their site over there. So yeah, knowing the policies and what it might actually mean, because again, sentiment is great, but what it actually, how you're going to achieve and accomplish your sentiment is very much more important to me.
Well, Andrew, that's an oxymoron. On one hand, he says, keep drilling. On the other hand, he says he wants to go green.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go green and keep drilling and create jobs when you're killing jobs. And then regarding the, Maria made a comment about you can't feel comfortable running in office, just, take it like I'm in already, I won.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what Samaniego was getting to referencing when he said the Office of the New Americans. He said, we have too many candidates that run that don't have to do anything because they know they've got it in. Well, he was describing the Democratic Party, because it certainly isn't the Republicans in El Paso who can sit back and say, I've got it made, or the people on their website saying, Escobar's already in. She doesn't have to do anything. She can just forget about Armendariz. That's so far from the truth, because Irene is an extremely good candidate. So Saturday she's going to have a block walk. So if you want to volunteer, look at her website. I just encourage everybody to really think what they're doing this 2022 at the ballot box. And then I'll go on to 2024 after that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Oh, sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, knowing, again, make your plan to vote applies whatever your political spectrum is, particularly if you're, well, frankly, any emotion. If you're happy, if you're sad, if you're elated, if you're angry, if you're depressed, just do the vote thing. Like, come on. What if you don't vote, you can guarantee that what you want to happen probably isn't going to, or at the very least, your voice is absolutely going to be missing from it here. Okay, but the only downside to you voting is short. It's a little bit of a time commitment. If you go early voting, it's a hell of a lot simpler, particularly around here. And you might occasionally get the mailer from your candidates out there because you're now on the rolls as an active voter in El Paso, which, if that's what happens and that's the worst that happens to you, oh no, don't throw me in that briar patch. Anyway, let's take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we got more calls in the line, and we'll get to more of them. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere. Looking to take care of yourself in a different way besides the voting that we're talking about, because yeah, good grooming, looking good, feeling good can really affect and change your day and help it start out on a brighter note each and every day. So to get that effect for myself, and of course, as we see it, if you look at us online on our social media for that live stream, is by going over to our friends at Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa, the official hair and beard sponsor of the program. For that very reason, I have trusted them for years with every hair on my head. And if you're looking for that special man in your life, whether it be yourself or someone that you know, you definitely can get treated like a king for a day over there at Gentleman's Republic Men's Barber Salon and Men's Spa. Follow them online, gentsrepublic.com. That's GENTS Republic.com, or drop them a line at 915-532-3000. That's 915-532-3000. They've got a whole lot of services. You can even book their building, the beautiful old Trost building. They've got just down the street from us here on Mesa as you're approaching downtown, available for events and as a venue. So for any of these questions, or just to schedule your next appointment, again, call them at 915-532-3000. That's 915-532-3000. Or again, online at gentsrepublic.com. That's GENTS Republic.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Gateway Boulevard, eastbound at Horizon, accident reported there. Sheriff's deputies responding. Gateway Boulevard, westbound at Trowbridge, a disabled tractor trailer is blocking the right lane by the on-ramp. Stay left. 54 Patriot, northbound at Liberty Expressway, Fred Wilson exit. Accident reported there. And a reminder, South Desert Boulevard is closed southbound between Trans Mountain and Artcraft this afternoon. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Find yourself going through life ignoring the totals on your receipts? Oh, I can't bring myself to luck? We've got your shot at $1,000 with Inflation Vacation. Listen every hour from 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. weekdays for your chance to win $1,000.
Listen for your chance to win $1,000 every hour, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. weekdays on News Talk 690 a.m.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies.
Get inspired during Dell's Black Friday and July sale with up to $500 off select computers like XPS laptops and Alienware systems with Intel Core processors. Plus, get great financing with a Dell Preferred account and free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Research shows listeners don't like it when ads interrupt their music. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual customizes home insurance, we made this ad optional. If you want to skip this ad, remove your left earphone. Liberty Mutual customizes home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
If you're missing this informative ad, you must love wasting your cash.
It's the easy and smart way to save.
Now it's all been said, so if that earphone was out, put it back in your head.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways to interact with the show, particularly at this point during the program. We do have that phone line open, so that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of interesting comments coming in over on our social media as well, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Look for us on those platforms, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. A lot of interesting comments there, specifically some of the back and forth actually going on because John Brazelton had spotted what may be mildly confused as a truism in the area about that people moving to the area or companies moving to the area, I guess I should more accurately say. Here it is. The problem with tons of out-of-state businesses coming to Texas is that their employees bring their liberal voting records with them. It does make elections closer now, maybe purple in the future. I mean, it's almost a truism at this point. I mean, there's a specific phrase I think of, don't California my Texas. I've seen on, I don't think billboards around here locally, but I've seen pictures of them from other parts of Texas. But actually, as I was saying this right now, Barbara Carrasco posting up over on the Facebook specifically a link to an interesting article from Texas Policy that I had seen go by saying new poll finds all these people moving to Texas aren't going to be voting for Democrats, as unbelievable as this may sound. Her note added here, last year for every one coming to Texas and registering Democrat, 1.25 are registering Republican. So that's kind of what been something in the back of my mind. I didn't have anything to point to specifically to say that, yes, that is actually what is happening. So finding out more about that is, I appreciate the link there. I find that useful. But also some other commentary about how we actually have voters and elections going on here. RJ saying in my, the only downside is going to get more mailers in here. He says, fill it half a blue bin with vote for me mailers, small price to pay. And besides, some of them show the fools for the geniuses they are, or vice versa. Interesting point there. And then Maria Common, just on the rhetoric from candidates here, which I find myself fully agreeing with, I stay away from a candidate with a platform of bashing the other guy, or their speeches only contain what the other candidate did incorrectly. I want to hear their stance and platform on what they plan to do if elected. And then I do believe we had Calvin Williams agreeing with that one, saying, exactly, hey, person running, you talked me out of voting for the other person, now talk me into voting for you. I do find those, again, very persuasive personally, and hope more people do, but I've been wrong in the past, and hope on this one I'm not. But let's go back to those phone lines now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Mario on the east side of the line here with us right now. Mario, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey there. What's on your mind?
Yeah, a couple of comments. Well, first of all, I know that you listed the polls, how they kind of shifted a little bit, where Greg Abbott only leads Beto O'Rourke by 6 points. Maybe that happened, after the Roe Wade versus Wade decisions by the Supreme Court. Maybe that shifted. My question is, who are they asking? Who's being surveyed? That's my question, because I don't believe that really people are really going to vote for Beto O'Rourke. I mean, this guy is a very radical person, I mean, let's look at just immigration. The immigration is a total chaos. It really is unsafe in our border, our border, because of the fact that it's open border. Drugs are coming in, human trafficking. I mean, who in the right mind would say that really this is safe and really Beto O'Rourke would do a good job when he really is for open borders? Number one. Number two, on abortion, and I have an article, actually. There's a guy by the name of Hank Hanegraaff. I don't know if you've heard of him. And he wrote several books. But anyway, I have his The Complete Bible Answer book, collector's edition, revised and updated. And he talks about the abortion issue. And the abortion issue, he says that the abortion is a painful killing of an innocent human being. Painful because of the fact that they're not anesthetized, killing of a human being, because the zygote, it is a human being. The zygote fulfills the criteria needed to establish the existence of biological life, which is metabolism, development, the ability to react to stimuli, the cell reproduction. Indeed, a human being is terminated. Now, if you go back to, and I don't recall a right year, Margaret Sanger, which really was the beginner or the origin of the Planned Parenthood, and what she wanted to do is really eliminate Black people. And she said this: the most merciful thing a large family can do for one of its infant members is to kill it. Now, she particularly hired Black people in the community to conduct, in the abortion clinics, to get people, kind of like coach them and tell them that, hey, you need to abort your baby. Really, this is a very evil thing. Now, I know that there's the argument about incest and rape. Abortion. It's a horrific thing. I mean, rape is a horrific thing. Incest is a horrific thing. It's an emotional thing. And then what they do is that they try to argue from the emotional standpoint, that look, being raped and being, incest, and, you cannot make two wrongs into a right thing. The very thing that makes rape and incest evil, it's likewise makes abortion evil. In both situations, it's the brutal dehumanization of an innocent human being, whether it's inside the mother's womb or being raped or incest, And then to top it off, Biden goes on news and talks about a 10-year-old kid who being raped, and of course, being forced to have the baby, has to go to a different state. You know something? There is no media, there's no news outlet that can find this article, this actually story someplace. It's just, for some reason, maybe that's the argument goes that what happens if a 10-year-old gets raped? But really, there's no story on that. You can find it anywhere. You can find it in the New York Times, the Washington Post. You can't find it anywhere except for on Biden's mouth. But that was my comment, and I don't believe that Beto O'Rourke really is capable or even has the brains to lead a state like the state of Texas. This guy is really radical. He really is incompetent. All he wants is pretty much the same thing as Biden. Look at me, prestige, praise. Really, they're not doing it because they love their country or their state. They're doing it for themselves. That's what, that's my comment.
All right. Well, appreciate it greatly. Thank you very much for the point in the comment there. Hope you have a great evening.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
I guess, there's, again, concerns I have about the campaign. They're absolutely coming up. I guess one of the finer points outside of that, because, there are a lot of extreme examples that can be got on either side here. I guess one of the major concerns I have with how policies come out, some of you have been sending me articles, and I do appreciate that on time. One of the commentaries about particularly the issue of ectopic pregnancy is one that I find troubling myself more and more lately because of there's some bad information out there about the idea of reimplantation, which just, as not a medical doctor myself here, but does not seem to bear out in reality as being feasible or technologically possible at this point in time. Maybe eventually, but not now. We are not there, essentially. And it's having to be something that is going to be terminated one way or the other. Essentially, it is guaranteed to either by a procedure or through the death of the mother. Like, there is no viable path forward with that. And there have been at least a couple of hospital systems in some of those states across the nation that have had those trigger laws, etc., saying that they are essentially not going to be able to do anything about those until essentially the woman in question is dying on their own. And because there's been some commentary I've been sent about this is not an abortion, it is just a procedure that results in the death of something. And just, I do have levels of concern here, but that's almost an entire another show, I will say here. But when it comes down to the idea of people voting and being on it or not here, again, it's very important to me that people know what the issues are and what is actually being talked about here. Yeah, border immigration, there actually is a lot more than I remember there being over on the O'Rourke website. So if you've got concerns about that campaign and what they're saying, BetoO'Rourke.com is the one to find it on, and you can find the points and positions they're being made there. And I know that sometimes people talk about things as know the points so that you can agree with them, and that is not what I am saying here. Know the points so that you can understand what they are putting forth and know what you're talking about when you bring them up here, because there actually are a decent amount here. So, yeah, there's a lot more to get into here, but we got to go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll get to more of those calls on the line here. That number to call again is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot of stuff, a lot of comments coming in, and we'll keep getting to that here. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with your KFOX 14 News Update. El Paso County Commissioners have agreed to raise the starting pay again for lifeguards to $14 an hour. Currently, lifeguards earn $13 and lifeguard leads are paid just slightly more than $14 an hour. Hiring incentives such as $800 were offered to hires at the beginning of the 2022 swim season, but the bonus is not employing as many lifeguards to fully staff all three county pools. Also, at the beginning of the season, the pool of candidates that could apply to be a lifeguard was open to 15-year-olds under a new provision. But as of July 2nd, there are 11 lifeguards working at the county pools. During the 2019 swimming season, the county of El Paso employed 19. Other U.S. cities like Austin, Phoenix, and New Orleans are also experiencing lifeguard shortages due to competition for candidates. In El Paso County, certifying lifeguards is the factor. So far this year, there have been 91 applicants. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Gateway Boulevard, northbound at Pershing. 3 vehicles are off to the right, blocking the right shoulder. Stay left. 54 Patriot, northbound at Fred Wilson. An accident reported with police on the scene. Northbound Pullman Drive, just north of Pelicano at Van Gogh. An injury accident there. And the right lane of I-10 between Red and Artcraft, plus the on-ramp there, is closed till 8 o'clock tonight because of road work. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the Forewarn Weather Center, this is CBS 4 weather forecaster Brady Brewster. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. We are tracking a hot day today across the borderland. Could see those temperatures back into the triple digits with chances for thunderstorms once again this afternoon. As normal, the biggest threat for today will be that heavy rainfall, so flash flooding possible in some areas. Make sure you're staying weather aware and visit our website, cbs4local.com, for all the details on this forecast.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Right now, Staples comp books and number 2 pencils are just 50 cents, and 2 pocket paper folders are just 25 cents each. In-store only. Offer ends 7/16. Limit 30. Don't send your kids back to school. Send them forward at Staples.
New on Curiosity Stream. Uncover engineering secrets from history's greatest masters. From the mysteries of the first man-made waterways to the building techniques of the early Americas, it's ancient engineering. Plus, 40 tons of trucks speeding down the interstate can be a recipe for disaster. See how today's smarter, new-age big rigs pave the way for safer highways on high-tech trucks. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
You should be able to earn money with your money and with more control. Solo Funds makes it simple. With the Solo Funds app, you lend money to other members to help them replace a tire or cover an emergency expense, and they pay you back with a tip. It's a win-win. Plus, you control which loans you fund and when you fund them, so you can make a difference and a return. Join us. Download the Solo Funds app on the App Store or Google Play Store.
Game shows are typically a combination of luck and skill, but for one show, Press Your Luck, a contestant just memorized how to win by watching a lot. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments, a lot of topics, a lot of issues we're tackling here today. So if you want to chime in over there on some of the social media here, RJ saying that Beto went to Richmond High with Sean Penn, two of a kind comunistas. Don't think that quite works out in reality, but I guess the tongue-in-cheek is what you're reaching for there. Some other comments about some of the other issues we're just talking about here, and from some of the commenters as well, including a comment I think it was in the top of the hour news break, Sri Lanka, where a strange situation going on there, but shows the power in its own way that people do have, even if they often discount it, I will say here. So some of the things we're talking about here today, and if you want to chime in, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after, not back after this break, but back to the phone lines now. We do have Frankie and Messia here with us on the line. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
I can't stop laughing. Over the weekend, I stopped at a number of our gorgeous eateries here in Mesilla. Mm-hmm. And I can't stop laughing because each and every single one of them, when I was finished, I walked out the front door. I didn't have to go out the back door like that Brett Craven crud, that creep who lied during his information thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he still had to go out the back door of Barbara's Greasy Spoon Taqueria. That's one. My main point. What are you Texans doing about this property tax stuff? And I don't have a particular dog in this fight other than if the property taxes go up on the business of EPEC, which I get my electric from, means my rates are going up, you Texans. So why don't you people get together and pay your state income taxes and save me some money? Thank you very much. That's what I want to say.
I mean, yeah, the impact of rate increases, I mean, they happen pretty periodically. I think, I don't think anyone's ever done like a rate, the whole rate case over time kind of thing here, but we often talk about it on the Texas side of things. But of course, there is it happening in New Mexico as well. So it's not exactly a straight line of property taxes. Ironically enough, El Paso Electric is not one of those entities that is involved in those property taxes, much like El Paso Water isn't either, because they get their funding directly from the usage fees that come along with it. So for those of you in Mesilla, points north of here, essentially, you're not really going to have to be too much impacted by the property tax situation here in Texas. When it comes to that, though, you might be, I guess, just the regional economic picture would be probably the biggest impact you're going to be seeing from that, would be my guesstimation.
Well, thank goodness for small flavors. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Because I thought they, owning property in Texas, EPEC, would get jammed up like the rest of you people out there paying for your houses, and my taxes and my electric bill is going to go up, and I'm not a happy camper. When my electric bill goes up, that decreases the amount of beer I can drink, and that does not make me happy. What do you think of that?
I could imagine so. I would find myself irate in a similar type of situation. I guess the kind of increasing fees, taxes, etc., that wherever you might be in the service area of the local utilities, essentially, I would be most concerned about would be any kind of taxes, excise, etc., or more or less the supply availability, particularly of natural gas. Sure, there are a variety of power generation methods used in the local utility, including some solar, some nuclear from, I think it was Palo Verde, if I'm thinking about that right. But a lot of it comes from, well, natural gas. In fact, a lot of plants here in the United States and even globally have been moving towards that. Heck, even our bus system here in El Paso relies on that. And so with the number, I want to say it was somewhere around the order of 5 different pipelines just within our broadcast area here. I think probably even more in our broadcast area, just within El Paso County or the next county over, essentially 5 different pipelines for exporting into Mexico and therefore points beyond for natural gas. And it's part of that problem is what we are seeing in the rise of prices there. So if you were going to see anything, and any real customer here was going to be seeing increasing prices, that would be the major point I would be focused on coming up here.
All right. Well, I'm a warm and fuzzy, happy customer. As long as my beer price doesn't go up, I really don't care about anything else. I love my beer, just like Brett Cravenour. He loves his beer. The only difference is I don't go out there and do stupid sexual stuff like he does. That's all I want to say.
All right. Well, thanks for the point in the call. You have a good one.
All right.
I mean, Brett Kavanaugh, you can have whatever opinion you want on him. I still have an issue about the whole plan about allow them no peace, essentially. Seriously, if you think that that's going to work out, because let's be honest, there's people more concerned than just going and shouting at someone about that and going to their house or doxing them online, releasing like credit card information, because that's been one thing purported to be out there. I have not really tried to look too close for the numbers there because I don't want to be involved in any way, shape, or form with that. But that's one of the purported things that's been going on here. Let's just call that dumb as a blanket statement and move on from it, because anyone saying that, no, this is a legitimate form of political protest and dialogue and discourse, no, it's not. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean the ends do not justify the means. That's a phrase I keep coming back to here because, yeah. Anyway, the energy prices I do think are significant, and I do think, just as a point on that, we are still within that window of time that, well, at least for the rest of the state anyway, ERCOT has asked Texas to keep the power usage down, and even more specifically asked for heavy machinery and heavy industrial users to curtail operations here. Specifically and mildly ironically, nearly all industrial scale Bitcoin miners in the state have shut down their machines in response to the call, representing 1% of the total grid capacity, according to Bloomberg News. Just think about that. Think about that with me for one damn second. How nuts that is. 1% of the power usage in the other parts of the state of Texas. I think it technically goes into the Texas grid as a whole, but I think technically goes maybe a little bit into Oklahoma, something like that. Anyway, that this Bitcoin mining, we've talked about this a little bit in the past, and no one's been out here really proposing it be the currency of the future given the crash it has. I will freely admit that I may have gotten in some of the holdings I have of that, gotten up in some of those bankruptcy of platforms. Yeah, it's a little nuts here, and I'll be happy if I get anything back from that. Never invest anything you're not willing to lose, folks, is the simple thing I'll say to you. And thankfully I was a hobbyist investor at best, nowhere near these whales that are probably considering jumping off the top of the skyscrapers they have now. In any case, that is one of the reasons that this is such an issue, is because the amount of power generation required to do this Bitcoin mining. And if you don't know anything about what that is, it both gets you some Bitcoin, some cryptocurrency. Other systems use the same model, but it also is kind of a core bit of infrastructure for the platforms in general, because what they're actually doing is processing the transactions essentially for a nominal fee of what then the cryptocurrency is. They're getting paid in what they're processing, basically. And it is so power intensive, 1% of the total grid capacity of Texas. Yeah, that is kind of nuts. Anyway, more comments coming in here. We'll get to more of those after this break here on Talk El Paso, airing live here on News Radio 690 KTSM, getting closer to the end of the program. So I'll get to a few more comments and calls here if you want to. Again, the number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. So we got coming up for you next on the show, and get to some of these last comments here. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Gateway Boulevard, northbound at Pershing. 3 vehicles are off to the right, blocking the right shoulder. Stay left. 54 Patriot, northbound at Fred Wilson. An accident reported with police on the scene. Northbound Pullman Drive, just north of Pelicano at Van Gogh. An injury accident there. And the right lane of I-10 between Red and Artcraft, plus the on-ramp there, is closed till 8 o'clock tonight because of road work. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Red Pilled America is the storytelling show everyone is talking about. This week, we reveal the agenda behind the phrase cultural appropriation and how it's being used to keep you in check. Listen to Red Pilled America every week on the free iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life. Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is a leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Research shows listeners don't like it when ads interrupt their music. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual customizes home insurance, we made this ad optional. If you want to skip this ad, remove your left earphone. Liberty Mutual customizes home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
If you're missing this informative ad, you must love wasting your cash.
It's the easy and smart way to save.
Now it's all been said, so if that your phone was out, put it back in your head.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
My mom and dad are the best. Ever since they called the Early Childhood Program, I'm doing so much better, and mom and dad don't worry or stress as much as they used to. They seem a bazillion times happier, and all services are free.
Parenting isn't easy, so we signed up for the free early childhood program at the El Paso Center for Children. They taught us how to deal with COVID-19 stress and be better parents. Lots of other free services are available. Call 915-500-4105. That's 500-4105.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Tell you a little bit about what we got coming up for you this week. Among other things, we've got some things going on. We're going to be having on tomorrow Robbie Gray, editor of El Pasoing, talk about some of their recent and ongoing reporting. I mentioned at least one of them today, so we'll get further into it here. They had a lot of top stories out this week, so stay tuned for that. As well as, of course, talking further with Estefania a little bit later this week about some of the investigative reporting and situations going on. And then a little bit later in the week, more on, well, just some of the issues, including water supplies in our area, some study that's going on. So we'll get into all those details and a whole lot more as we have Calvin Williams, RJ, Kathy Codry, Flaco Jimenez, Barbara Carrasco, Maria Coleman, and a lot of people chiming in over there. Robbie Flores, John Browson a little bit earlier as well. One of the comments I wanted to get to here, where'd it go? Just have to find in the many comments we got. Maria Coleman saying, no matter your politics, people have a right to dine out with family and friends. Yeah, like I get it. You want to see what you done right, and that. But given let's just say I have a theory in mind. Usually doesn't apply to politics, but when you leave a cornered person is the most dangerous, because if you leave them no outcome besides essential, not even surrender, but destruction, that's when they lash out the most. So it's a bad plan. And some more comments about some of the abortion situations we're talking about here. But on the whole cryptocurrency thing, yeah, Barbara Carrasco saying the stock market hurts too. It's all about timing to know when to get out. Biden made that decision real easy. Yeah. Calvin Williams commiserating here. I've been able to sell my XRP. I think that's called Ripple, if I'm not mistaken, for 2 years. It was up to $324. Oh, well, I'm out $20. Yeah, I had managed to do a whole selling and reinvesting thing decently okay, therefore, but now it's not quite all gone. I'll probably get a percentage of it back, but that's why I was not like, oh no, honey, we got to sell the house. We can definitely become millionaires on Bitcoin, because particularly, what's the song? If you believe in things you don't understand, you suffer, kind of applies here. Anyway, and more ideas about some of the economic things here. Lucky Man is also putting it, I think referring to investment strategy. Turtle always beats the hare. Yeah, flashy may be good, but making sure you do it right. Yeah. Also, RJ, to our previous caller, saying, Frankie, watch out for the rising hops, malt, and barley prices. I mean, you're not too far off there with everything. Okay, so one of the other things I look at, and of course, we've been getting a lot of rain here, but almost seemingly we're getting the rest of the rain that other parts of the country have been wanting. I mean, I'm not complaining about it here, unless you've had flooding in your house, in which case I commiserate with you and I feel sorry for you. But a lot of places in the country are seeing serious drought events going on here, estimated at being quite a lot more than it had been. I mean, seriously, that 70% of the U.S. is affected by some kind of dryness, drought, mostly in an abnormal nature, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor. So things are probably going to get a little bit tighter that way, so I wouldn't be surprised with those prices going up. But the only thing I'm looking at that is, well, it's not the only thing positive, but in the things we've talked about today anyway, possible changes, is that the wholesale actual, oil rate and gas rate has come down, has been declining. So I know that the prices aren't still great, and, well, with things going on with the inflation report, that could change the trajectory somewhat. But if gas prices were to come back down even a bit, offering a bit of relief, thing that would be good for people. Though whether it be enough not to change political calculations, that fully, completely remains to be seen. And yeah, we got a long road ahead of November here. And I'm not sure we won't have any more surprises or maybe constant surprises before we get there. But we'll keep talking about all the issues as we see them and as we can talk about them every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Just last point I want to make here is that, talking about things is important, but making sure you're actually having those conversations in your everyday life, not just your internet or radio life, so to speak. What I'm saying is make sure to share your thoughts, your opinions, your important things to you with friends and family, because doing and being informed here is certainly important. And you're not going to hear me telling you not to tune in. But seriously, taking it to that next step, that's what I talk about. Make your plan to go vote. Take a friend. But even much more basic is just talk about the important things. I know that for generations, it was the idea of, well, we don't talk about these things, polite company, politics, economics, how much you're paid, those kind of things. And to that, I say baloney. Don't want to say other words, but we're still on the radio, because not talking about them, I do not think has served us well. And I've had a couple of people talking to me about that, the conversations we go on. So seriously, if you think that, well, I can't talk to this person about that, you might be surprised how much common, not even just common ground, but agreement there is. Specific methods about how to deal with it may differ, as I mean, at least in my college, the phrase was you get two graduates in a room and they'll have 18 opinions between them. And that may very much be the case, but the ability to talk about it is an increasingly lost art, and one that I am bound and determined to not let go away from us, at least on this program, something we'll continue to focus on here. So that's going to do it here for us today. I want to thank everyone who has tuned in, called in, commented, participated in the show. Seriously, again, it's a basic level, but by doing so, you're ahead of the game, and it really helps make this show what it is. So we'll do it again tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. In the meantime, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening all. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Some closures on El Paso roadways. Portions of North and South Desert Boulevard closed. North Desert Boulevard northbound between Paseo del Norte and Trans Mountain. On South Desert Boulevard between Trans Mountain and Artcraft. Also, the right lane is closed for emergency road work on the 10 westbound between Red and Artcraft till 8 o'clock tonight. And 2 right interchange ramp lanes are blocked on the I-10 eastbound at Patriot Freeway. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
They're here, circling over your head, and are tracking you down. You feel overwhelmed, like you can't escape. You need a solution to get your back taxes filed, to put your life back on track. You need someone who can keep the vultures at bay and work directly with the IRS to leverage every opportunity to settle your debt. Edward Areola of United Financial Services is licensed to represent you before the IRS. Don't let the IRS threaten you. You should never need to speak to them directly. Edward does that for you. United Financial Services will help settle your entire IRS tax debt for up to 85% off the original amount owed, including penalties and interest if you qualify. United Financial Services, family owned in El Paso, can be a lifesaver for you. Call 915-500-3255, 915-500-3255, or go to UnitedFinancialEP.com. Call 915-500-3255 now.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
All right, class, let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100